The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Cowboys Storylines with Nick Eatman.
What's up? It's time for Cowboys Storylines. It's Thursday, October 26th. I'm Nick Eatman here, and we're going to talk Cowboys and Rams. Cowboys are finally getting back from this bye week. You know, I was just talking with Isaiah Stanback just now on talking Cowboys and how this is such a long 2 weeks when you're coming off the bye. When you get to this point here, and what are you talking about? You could try to talk about the Rams, but it's not an opponent that is got a whole lot of intrigue. They got some good players. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it won't be a tough game, but the matchup's not like it like it would just sell on itself. And so when you're 2 weeks removed from a game, it takes a long time. That's why it's so important to win that game heading into the bye, because if you don't, it seems to linger even more. So at least the Cowboys got that win. They're sitting at 4-2. Since that game, there's been a lot of things that have kind of happened that I think sort of favor the Cowboys. It just shows that there's a lot of there's a lot of parity. Teams that we thought were really good may not be as great. I know the Eagles are good. Micah Parsons thinks the Eagles are good. We've talked about that, but no, they are good. I mean, the record says that they are. But guess what? The Cowboys get to face them in a couple weeks. But we're not jumping ahead of the Rams. Just know that where they stand right now, that will be a huge game. If the Cowboys can take care of business there and beat, it's going to be a big game anyways. But if the Cowboys can get to 5-2 this week and beat the Rams and extend this winning streak at home, that's I believe at 10 games right now, could be 11. And let me say this: credit to the fans. Credit to the fans for making it a place where it's tough to play, because let's be honest, it wasn't always that way. It's not an easy place to have a dominant home crowd. We've talked about this before. It can get loud, of course, but AT&T Stadium it's a destination place. When other teams look at the schedule, they look at Dallas and go, hey, let's go to Dallas. Let's go to this stadium if we've never been. Easy to get to wherever you are in the country. It's going to be good weather. You don't have to worry about that. So it's a place where you are going to see a lot of fans from other teams. But credit the Cowboys and the fans and the players and all that for winning these games and having this streak at home. Another thing that's going to happen this week at halftime is DeMarcus Ware is going to go into the Ring of Honor officially. So that will be cool to see that. So, all right. 888-855-2297. That is the phone number, and we got a couple callers already on the line. So let's get started. We got Michael in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Michael, what's up?
All right. So trade deadline's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an article on USA Today Sports last night, and I want to get your take on it. If it's possible, think it's doable. I think if it happens, the Cowboys, I think they'll get past the Eagles. I think it's a big deal if they could do it. The 2 options that they addressed in the article were you send the number 1 draft pick next year to the Tennessee Titans for Derrick Henry, and you're done. Or you send the number 5 draft pick and Tony Pollard to the Titans for Derrick Henry. And, I guess you have Rico as your 1-2 punch instead of Pollard and Henry. Do you think either of those is possible? Do you think either it could be likely? I think it would make the way the Cowboys are wanting to run so much. I mean, Derrick Henry. I mean, he's like Zeke plus. I mean,
yeah. All right, here. I appreciate the call, Michael. Here's the problem that we have. I could sit here and say, "Hey guys, it's your show," and it is. The problem is that this isn't a topic that I can really address that much. At Dallas Cowboys radio, Dallas Cowboys websites, our properties, we're not going to sit here and talk about players on other teams. I know it's not as fun for you guys. I get it, because this is the time where you want to have all these scenarios, and USA Today can do that kind of stuff, and the radio stations can do that. And we have people that work on these shows and these podcasts that have other affiliates that they can do that. It's harder for us to do that, because what happens is, here's why, is that any player that you just mentioned, if we sat here and talked about it for a while, and then it happened, then other teams are looking around and going, well, this was in the works for a long time. The Cowboys were tampering. They were already talking about it, because on their radio shows, on their own website, they were talking about it. And so this was a done deal way before it happened. So that's why it's just hard for us to go down that road with specific players. Okay? So specific players, I'm not going to go there with you. But if you want to talk about big, strong, experienced running backs in the league, if there was a guy out there that's done some things, I think that could help the Cowboys. I think they could use a running back like that. I'm not looking to trade Tony Pollard for it, though. I'm not looking to trade Pollard for a guy. That's not what I'm trying to. That's not going all in to me. That's just saying, all right, that's addressing one problem. Now I got another problem. You need playmakers. So I think if you're going to add a running back, I think you got to add him to the list with Tony Pollard, and whatever that takes. I don't think the Cowboys would part ways with it. I don't think think about this. You're not going to trade a first-round pick for a running back when you don't even want to draft one in the first round. I mean, like teams don't like to draft running backs in the first round unless they're really, really special. And so I don't think you're going to, you're not going to trade for one who's been in the league and he's on the downside of his career, I would think, as a running back. So that's why it's going to be tough to trade for any running back. Teams are going to want value for their player, but at the same time, this is not a Herschel Walker situation. Those days are gone. That's not going to happen. All right, next caller, Travis in San Antonio. Travis, what's up?
Hey Nick, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Just a couple things. I know it's been kind of not a theme, but kind of what's been talked about, and I just wanted to give my theory and see if you think I'm crazy or not. But on the whole, yeah, you might. You never know.
We're all crazy. We're all crazy in our own little way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we are.
Yeah. To an extent, yeah. The whole Jerry Stephen thing, I've listened to Broadus the last couple days, the last couple weeks, and he's the thing that I always like about Broadus is he's very honest about, like, hey, I sucked or whatever. He just kind of says it like it is, mm-hmm. which is great, but. Mm-hmm. The whole, he's even said this week, I want the old Jerry back that you want 2 first-round picks for Joey Galloway? Here, take them. Let's go.
He said that?
Yeah.
Broadus said that?
Yep. Because, and I guess the first point is it's kind of like a coach. You know how we always talk about coaches, and we always want a coach to understand where their team at is in a game. Mm-hmm. It happened to Ron Rivera a couple weeks ago where he was like, they could have gone for 2 to beat the Eagles, and he didn't. And after the game, he was asked, "Why didn't you go for 2?" Or I think it was the Giants. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Well, my team was exhausted." And they were like, "Well, yeah, so go for 2, go for the win. Like, if you know your team is exhausted, why would you want to go to overtime?"
Right.
So it's just kind of the same thing. It's like understand, and I'm not saying you can do it every year because not every year you have an amazing team, but you have to have. I think you have to have a little bit of a pulse on the team to know, like, this may be our best chance. Even looking forward to do it now. So let's be aggressive. Let's go. And I guess, he used to be that way. And I think somewhat, because I heard Rob's call yesterday, I think somewhat what's happened is, like, he used to be that way. He got burned on the Galloway trade. He got burned on the Lord Williams trade. And then I think Stevens come in and he's kind of been the yin to Jerry's yang, where he's kind of like, Jerry still wants to do it, but he's like, hey, maybe we got to think about X, Y, and Z. So he's kind of scaled back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do think just being competitive, although it's great, it is good for business.
All right, Michael, hold on. Oh, Travis, sorry, Travis.
Yep.
Travis, let me ask you this. I'm gonna throw it back at you.
Yep.
What are name the 3 times where you think Jerry has kind of gone all in and made moves like that? Can you give me 3 examples?
I don't think I know you said that the Amari Cooper thing was that. I don't think that was it because, and I'll tell you why. Because although the Amari Cooper thing was like, yeah, we gave him a first-round pick, what was the reason we had to do that? We went into the season going, we got enough. We like our receivers, right? That was the reason.
Okay, but give me some examples of these moves that are like big moves. And you wouldn't call that a big move, trading a first-round pick?
No, because you did that out of desperation.
Okay, so when has that happened? When has Jerry done this? Then what is the old Jerry doing? What, Joey Galloway?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I guess it's more so. I'm not saying that was right back then to do it then. I'm saying you want to be. I guess it's marrying the two together. Like those weren't necessarily the great moves. That was probably overpaying and not the right time to do it. That's what I'm saying about the whole coach. Like understand, like if this is the right time, be willing to do it. And the two things, like right now, someone called yesterday and said, we're okay at corner. We're okay at corner, but if Gilmore or Bland goes down, we're going to be just like we were last year, where we have guys coming off the street.
Yeah.
So add one to it. Like Jalen Johnson from the Bears, I'd give up a second-round pick. And the other thing that I would do is, I know it's a popular one, but Derrick Henry. I know you mentioned yesterday that the compensation might be crazy, but I don't think it's going to be because he's almost 30. He's a running back. And maybe next year's 4 and pick a defensive lineman. And I'm not saying just pick one like whatever, but Dorrance Armstrong or somebody like that. Because the offensive line, to your point, is not necessarily they're not blocking well right now. I think they will figure it out.
Yeah,
but they didn't block always well for Zeke last year. But what we always say, he would turn 1 into 3,
he
2 into 4. So I think that would really help, and those are the two moves that I would make.
All right, I appreciate that. Thanks for the call, Travis. And I think the Cowboy. I know you speak for a lot of Cowboy fans that kind of want to do something, want them to kind of fix some needs here. I think the Cowboys would like to fix some needs now that could also help down the road. Cornerback makes sense there because Diggs will be back, but then also and Bland is here, but then how much more does Gilmore have, and if you could have another cornerback in that group that you could have and re-sign, that makes sense. Running back, running back is tricky. It's a tricky position, and so if you get an older running back, it's still probably not going to be your answer for the future. And who's to say that you have to do that? Maybe you draft one and in the first, second, third round and next year and move on. So there's a lot of options the Cowboys could go. Let me say this though, I do put Amari Cooper in one of those moves. I kind of say three times that Jerry has done. I mean, let's just call it what it is, trading a first-round pick. When you trade a first-round pick, and it happened in 2000 with Joey Galloway, it happened in 2008 with Roy Williams, and then it happened in 2018 with Amari Cooper. They made the playoffs in 2009, right after Roy Williams, and they made it that year with Amari Cooper. But go back and look, and of course Joey Galloway, that he got hurt. After they made that deal with Joey Galloway, they didn't make the playoffs for 4 seasons. After the trade with Roy Williams, they made it the next year, but then they didn't make it 4 out of the 5 years. And then with Amari Cooper, they made it that year and then didn't make it for 2 straight years. So, I mean, you can just make the argument either way. Have these moves helped right then? Yes and no. Have they helped long term? Maybe not. So a lot of things to kind of factor in and when you're giving up. And I don't think the Cowboys are going to give up a first-round pick for anybody. I just don't think that's going to happen this year. All right. Steve in Newport, Washington. Steve, what's up, man?
I got a question. I was real impressed in the preseason with Hunter Lipke.
Okay.
And I think they utilized him a little bit in the first game, but haven't seen him since. I think he's good catching the ball out of the backfield. He seemed to be a good blocker, and they were going to use him as a fullback. They kept him on the roster, seemed to be for some reason. Any idea why they haven't utilized him?
Well, Steve, I don't agree with you. I mean, honestly, I think Hunter Lipke has actually added every single game. It seems like his workload has been more and more each game. I'm not sure I'm seeing it the way you're seeing it, because I feel like they do add a little bit more to his plate every single game. I saw it in this last game with the Chargers. I saw him line up basically as a tight end. I've seen him at fullback. I've seen him with the running the ball and getting into the end zone. We've seen him as the lead blocker. We've seen him catch out of the backfield. We've seen him on special teams. I think he is actually the trajectory of Hunter Lipke is way faster than I thought it was going to be. So I disagree with you there. I think they really like him, and I think they're continuing to add stuff to his plate. He's not the lead running back. Maybe he could be. Not as the starter, but maybe he could have that role a little bit more. So I'm not going with you on that one. I think the Cowboys are very excited about Hunter Lipke, and I think that they're giving him opportunities to grow right before our eyes.
Because we're talking about bringing in other running backs and other things, and I'm talking about
you want to go to Lipke
more what we have.
All right. Well, I mean, and that's definitely an option there. So, Steve, you have any other question, or is that it?
No, that was it.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate the call, and that's another thing. That's what the Cowboys are trying to figure out here. I mean, what do you do? Do you go on the outside and bring someone in and there's that term progress stopper, which I don't think the fans really care about that right now. I think they want to go win games and try to win the Super Bowl, and I get it. But you are trying to develop your own players, and so it's just got to make sense. It's the moves have to make sense, and there's more factors than just saying, and I keep going back to Madden, but I think people think like that. Like, I've got a 77 overall player, I need to get an 85. It just doesn't work that way, because there's way more to it involved there, and so I do think the Cowboys are thinking about stuff, and I think they're on the phone. I think they're looking. I don't necessarily buy that part about Jerry saying it's got to come to me. I don't. That's not why you have 20 scouts and all the coaches and the executives like that. I mean, they're looking. They know what's out there. They know what other teams are possibly trying to do and move players. They know the contract situations of other guys, and so it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Cowboys initiate a move and make one. All right, Sebastian in Savannah, Georgia. Sebastian, what's up?
Good morning, and shout out to Mike in Savannah. I heard him call the other day. We had almost the same call.
What was going on? I mean, Savannah just dominating there. I love it.
We're keeping an eye on the team. What I wanted to say is, I disagree with something, because it's been happening since, the Jason Garrett administration. I feel like this front office has a lot of faith that they put into the first back on this team, and I feel like we might already have on the team the type of back that we need as far as Rico Dotto goes and Hunter Lipke. So before the trade deadline and going out and getting a big name or something like that, I would be putting these guys to their paces in these next couple of games to see if they can do it or not. Deron Bland has showed you these rookies can play from a very young age. As far as what we need, I tweeted this morning. I don't know if you saw it. I would love to find a linebacker like Rolando McClain. I don't know if that's going to be Rashad Evans, but I think we need another linebacker for depth. But the move that I really want is if we go out there, and I'm willing to go as high as the second round, because a lot of our second rounders don't pan out. Our first are great, but our second rounders don't always pan out. A defensive tackle, that's really what we wanted Mozzie Smith to be already. Yeah. Because I feel like Mozzie Smith is going to take more time to develop, and I'll hang up a list.
All right.
Have a great day.
All right. You know what? I like where you're thinking. I like where you're thinking about second rounders, because you're right. It's been a position. It's been a spot in the draft where the Cowboys get, they get risky, and that's where I think Jerry has that's where his hands are have been his fingerprints on the draft a lot. Is that second round? Go back. You could go back a decade. There's several players they've drafted of saying, you know what, we have a first round grade on him, but injury wise, he's in the second round, or off the field issues or whatever it is. We feel like we can steal some value by getting him in the second round. Go all the way back to Bruce Carter in 2011. Broke his leg, I believe, in his senior year. They drafted him in the second round. It goes on and on. Obviously, Randy Gregory, Sean Lee. Sean Lee actually was before Bruce Carter. That was another example. That worked. that worked. That might have been one of the reasons why they continued to do it, because the Sean Lee, well, let's say it worked. He was a great player, but he was there in the second round because of injuries, and injuries is the reason why he's probably not. He wasn't a perennial Pro Bowler. I think he made it twice, but he could have been so great. And that's the thing. The Cowboys saw that in college. They just had to weigh all that. So second round, they got Trayvon Diggs, Kelvin Joseph, Sam Williams. I mean, they're going for players with a little bit of baggage maybe, but also trying to get some value. So why not jump the whole year and trade a second round pick for a really, really talented player? You get a lot of value for a second round pick at this point in the season. So, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate that move especially if the Cowboys are going to keep drafting the way they are with that kind of strategy in the second round. Then I'm fine going ahead and risking it on a veteran player that's been proven and doing it that way. So. I like that. I like that move. Now, you said give the running backs a couple of games. I think they only have one. I mean, they got one more game to do this. I think the deadline is the 31st, next Tuesday. So, all right, let's go to Marco in Vancouver, Washington. Marco.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Hey, yesterday a caller asked the question about which player would you bring back, and you kind of spun it around on him.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to pick Hall of Famers.
Sure.
And as soon as you said, not a Hall of Famer, the first guy that popped in my head was Travis Frederick. And really, I thought about it more. And since he left with his illness, because his arrival was really kind of the arrival of the Cowboys' offensive line. I mean, that's what got DeMarco Murray paid.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about wanting rookie Dak and Zeke's rookie year. Well, he was the one that kind of kept that line going and everything. And really, since he left, that's when the questions, I feel, started about Dak and even Zeke when he was here. The running game, they all kind of went down. So if I could bring back one guy, it'd be Travis Frederick. And I kind of was hopeful with Tyler Biadasz because, they kind of had similar credentials coming out of college.
Wisconsin, yeah.
But, Travis, I think, was just a little bit bigger. There's a finesse that's involved with that position, too. But you need that size, and I think that's where Biadasz kind of lacks at the moment.
Yeah. We obviously have seen mid-round picks, 4th, 5th, 6th rounders. We've seen them shine, but you're seeing the difference of them drafting Travis Frederick in the first round and drafting Biadasz in the 4th. That was the difference. I mean, they were different there.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that's always kind of baffled me the last few years, especially since he's been gone. People are always arguing over should we take a tackle or a guard, or can the tackle play guard? I've always kind of argued we need a center. We need to replace Travis, since he's been gone.
Yeah.
I just kind of hope maybe they kind of start looking that way more when they have the opportunity to get those type of players earlier in the draft.
All right. Appreciate that. I appreciate the call. The center has been kind of interesting. The last couple of years, it looked like the Cowboys might focus on that because, Biadasz was struggling a little bit or just hadn't developed like you thought he would. It took a little time. So I think it was, 2 years ago, there was some talk that maybe they would draft a center when they drafted Tyler Smith. There were some centers out there. They didn't take any center. They weren't in love with some of the centers that were out there. And they felt like what they had was better than that. As it turned out, he made the Pro Bowl. Take that back. He didn't make the Pro. He made the Pro Bowl this past year. But either way, Biadasz, his development has been better. So, I feel like something's got to give here because, he's another guy with a contract that's coming up, and they got to make some decisions on him. They're going to see what his long-term health looks like. But, yes, it's one of those positions that could be upgraded, but it's working for the most part, and I don't think it's I don't think it's too troublesome at this moment, but like a lot of positions, you could get better at it. All right. Chris in San Angelo, what's up?
Hey, doing well, Nick. I love your show, and thank you for taking my call.
So this game, you're okay this weekend not pulling for the Rams, right? Like you're not going to pull for the Rams all the way.
If you want to know the truth, I'm not really sure how they're doing because I don't think it's so good.
All right. I'm talking about Angelo State Rams, which I've seen. I don't know what the color scheme looks like right now, but I've seen them. They look a lot like the LA Rams at times, the way
yes,
very similar.
A lot of similars. Hey, I just had one question, Nick. With the recent success of the Rangers, basically the team across the street, do you think that adds any kind of pressure to ownership, coach, anything like that? It's like they hired them a new guy, and then boom, they're in the they're in the series. It might be a silly question.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. I mean, it gets talked about. It gets talked about here. I don't necessarily think it adds. I mean, let's be honest. How much more pressure could the Cowboys be under? I mean, how much more pressure? I mean, their head coach has won 12 games in a row, 2 years in a row, and if he doesn't win 12 games this year or go to the NFC Championship game, there will be a lot of talk about maybe a change.
Right on.
What more pressure can you have? I mean, the pressure is here. It's nice. Yeah. The Rangers, but the Rangers are not the Cowboys. And I love watching the Rangers. Whatever the Friday night game 1. I don't know what kind of rating that's going to be like on from television ratings. It'll probably equal the Cowboys preseason game. That's what
this is true.
So I don't know. Maybe there's the sponsors feel differently. Maybe they feel like, that they're trying to get deals done, and if the Rangers want it all, it might affect. But everyone's pulling for the Rangers, I think, and I don't think it affects one way or another. I really don't.
All right. Well, thank you for answering that anyway.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Well, have a great weekend. I say weekend. Yeah, it's Thursday. You can say weekend. Yeah. Once football starts, it pretty much starts the weekend. And I know there's NFL games, I guess, tonight. So it's close enough to go with the weekend. Let's actually go to break here. Let's go to break here on Cowboys Storyline. We got more calls and more texts to get to. We'll be right back on Cowboys Storyline.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to Cowboys Storylines.
All right, back here on Cowboys Storylines. You can call us at 888-855-2297 or send us a text, 817-290-3776. 3298. We do have a text here. I'll get right to it. This is Arthur from Spring, Texas. He says, great show. Thank you. Is it possible we place too much confidence in Mozzie Smith's development as a starter? How can we scheme Deuce more as a slot receiver? Well, we didn't put confidence on Mozzie Smith. The Cowboys did by drafting him. I mean, when you draft a player in the first round, there's a lot of players to take there. So usually what you're doing is you're drafting a guy that can help you right now in some way, and then down the road he could be a big-time starter. But most of the time as a first-round pick, you expect them to start. That's why you're taking them, to be better than what you have. So, and that hasn't been the case so far with Mozzie. So I don't think we have put too much expectations. First-round picks typically come in and contribute one way or another. That hasn't happened yet. Not giving up on him, just saying that it just hasn't gelled just yet. Deuce as a slot receiver, but that's a stretch right there. I don't see that as a slot receiver. I think he could be a gadget type player, but they haven't figured out the role for him just yet. And when they have given him the ball, he hasn't been highly productive either. It's one thing to go up against guys that aren't going to be in the league, like in the third, fourth quarter of a preseason game. But when you're playing actual starters, it's been a little different for him. So not to say he can't develop as well, but right now that's not the best option there. All right, let's go to Bruce in Houston on the line. Bruce, what's up?
Hey, Nick. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Mozzie Smith, I still think it was a great draft.
Okay.
It's not a splash position, defensive tackle. They got him to replace Hankins when he retires or when they don't re-sign him. Would I like to see him, playing 40% of snaps? Absolutely, but I think he's going to grow in that position. I think we're going to be really glad we got him a year or two down the road.
Yeah.
That being said, we were talking about earlier, about which player or position to trade, and I think running back is because we basically already traded. We swapped. Well, we traded Joseph for that number one cornerback. I can't pronounce his name, from Miami, but what does the team feel about him? Is he? I mean, he's a first-round talent. Did we have him rated that high?
Yeah. I don't know that. I don't know where they had him rated. Obviously probably pretty high because, he hasn't done anything in Miami, and they traded for him. Now, Kelvin Joseph was probably going to get released. So, what you can get for him, let's try. Let's try to get, Igbenogany is who you're talking about. Try to get him in here and see if, maybe he can develop a little bit, and maybe working with guys like Trayvon Diggs was the plan, and also Stephon Gilmore and Al Harris. I mean, Al Harris he played the position for the Packers for many years, and now he's the coach. And sometimes players just need a little bit of a change in scenery, a change in the voices around them. Maybe the perspective of a player that's played. Not to say that you have to be playing in the NFL to be a coach. There's some great ones that never step foot on a field, but sometimes you can relate differently to a coach that's actually done it. You can YouTube his highlights and see what he's done, and so when he's telling you things that he thinks you should do, it might register a little different. So that's kind of the plan. They're not giving up on him. I mean, he's behind the eight ball. Same with Mozzie, like you mentioned in the first part of the call. Mozzie got drafted, and now he's got to come in and be better. Well, let's not forget that they drafted 2 third-round picks back-to-back years, I believe, Neville Gallimore and Osa Odigizua. And they've signed Hankins, or traded for Hankins and then re-signed him. And Gallimore and is playing better than he has in the past, and Osa's playing out of his mind. So drafting Mozzie Smith has kind of lit a fire in some other people as well, which is making it a little tougher for Mozzie to get on the field. Again, I'm not making excuses. He's a first-round pick. You'd think he'd be playing a little bit more than he is, but there's some circumstances here as well, and he's having a hard time, beating out the guys that were ahead of him that are playing pretty well. All right, let's go with Nigel in Arizona. Nigel.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Very well, and yourself?
I'm good. What's up, bud?
Not too much. Is this Nick?
Yep. Yeah, you're on the air. Let's go.
Nice. All right, Coach. I'm on it. Couple of things, Nick. It seems that we get some kind of continuity in training camp. Training camp is what it is. No hitting, etc. But I love Michael Gallup. Great, but obviously we all know there's some issues going on there. So isn't it time, like other teams, to pull some of these guys off the shelf, like the two Jalen's, and just see what they give us? As well as I think Turpin should be in there at least one down every 4. Stretch that field if you're going on a pass run, pass play, etc. It just seems like we need a spark somewhere. Same thing with Deuce. I know the last game he played, he couldn't cover, he couldn't block. But, they pinned their ears back because we were down and, kind of left them in a no-win scenario. But I think him in the backfield with Tony, splitting them out maybe out on screens, or just give him a moment to get open, and he can do the rest.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Nick. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Nigel. I appreciate that. Thanks for the call. And, there's been some talk this week about that. Here on the show, I can't say that they're talking about reducing Gallup's workload. I don't know if that'll happen. But the good thing is that receiver, you probably can do that better than any other position, where you can just, there's a lot of different packages. There's different sets where, if you want to put Turpin and Tolbert on the field a little bit more, you can do that. And it, does Gallup's reps go down? Yeah, and it seems like it's possible to happen. So, I think that if that's what they feel, then we can see that happening. I mean, was it just a few years ago? I mean, I remember Noah Brown was the 5th receiver. He was getting some reps. Cedric Wilson was getting reps in there, and so they have ways of getting the more, if they want to see these wide receivers do something, you can do it. And you can do it at the expense of Gallup's reps. So if they're thinking along your lines, that definitely could happen. I've said it before. I'm not worried about. See, if you can just forget about right now, because it doesn't matter right now. Forget about Michael Gallup's contract. Just forget what it is, and then just have him for the role that he has. 3rd receiver, mixing in with Tolbert. That's fine. And if he gets less reps, that's okay. But I think he's got value. I think he can make plays for you. I think that, Dak threw him the ball 10 times. He caught 3. That's not going to work in the future, but they did something to get open for 10 times. Or, I don't know if he was open all the time, but I think that, Dak has trust in him. Let's just not discount him just yet, okay? This is the way Gallup has been. He'll come up and surprise you when you need him the most. He will make a play for you, and so I firmly believe that. I just wouldn't give up on him. All right. Eric in North Carolina is our next caller. Eric, what's up?
What's up, Nick? What's good, brother?
How you doing?
Man, good show today. And before I say my comment, I definitely want to agree with you about Michael Gallup. Just give him time. He had a catastrophic injury. He's still finding his way back, honestly.
Yeah.
But he will make a play. He is someone that has extreme rapport with Dak. So let's keep these guys that have the familiarity with the system and the quarterback as long as possible. So I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I just want to comment on all the trade talk and everything. I would rather the Cowboys not make a deal at the deadline if they got to make a deal that shows us to be desperate, or we have to go our way to make the deal by giving up a first round or giving up a second round for the guy that's not even worth it type deal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I if it makes sense, do it. My lead thing would be probably my lead trade idea or great scenario would probably be the guy from Tennessee, the running back.
Let me ask you this, Eric. Let me ask you this, though. So when you said it's got to make sense, would you rather it make sense right now for week 8 of the season and moving on, or do you think making sense means could help right now but will also help 2 to 3 years down the road? What is your definition of making sense?
It helps immediately, but it also protects us in the future as well, as far as losing guys.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's a short-term fix, but also a long-term fix as well. Certain guys, I think it will work. You know what I'm saying? That's why I lean to the guy Henry, man. You know, when Dak and Tony Pollard had a bruising, change of pace, short yardage back, it helped Tony Pollard and it helped Dak, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, when we had Zeke, it made it showed to be a better version of Pollard. And I'm not sure if him carrying the load is too much for him right now. I'm not sure if it is or not, honestly. So bringing in a guy like Henry relieves a lot of pressure for him. We go back to that lightning and thunder type system, which helps Pollard, in my opinion. You got a downhill bruising runner like this guy. It would definitely help that. You have to squeeze more guys in the box that's going to create opportunities on the outside with our receivers. I think that would be the most legitimate move to me outside of linebacker depth. You know, so that's just my take on that. But don't trade for this guy if they want a first or they want some outlandish trade terms. Don't do it. We'll just sit pat. Because our future is more important than the present, in my opinion. But if you can soothe both, make the move. That's my take on Nick. So thank you for taking my call again.
All right.
And Cowboys for life, brother.
All right. Thank you, Eric. And the one thing you kind of just said there at the very end, the future is more important than the present. That's interesting. I don't think fans feel that way. I don't think a lot of them do. I mean, I think they went sit there in April. And when the draft rolls around and they're like, why don't we have more picks? Like, oh, yeah, because we traded for this and that. Okay, like you might get frustrated then. But as for right now, you know, I think they want to go make a move. And so, and you even said it yourself. You kind of changed. You're like, I want to make a move for the future if it makes sense. But you're talking about trading for a running back who's, you know, he's up there in age and, you know, for a running back. And he's probably not somebody you'll be, you know, building around for a lot of years. So, anyways, you know, I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. I don't know if they feel the same way. I know that they've said we like our players, we like our guys. They're always going to say that. They also said drafting running backs is really not a smart decision in the first round. They said that on the Tuesday before the NFL draft in 2016 when they took Zeke with the 4th pick. So there's a lot of things. When you talk to the media about what you might do, I mean, these guys are business guys. I mean, they know. I mean, so you can't just read into a lot of things. Do I think they're going to do something? I would be surprised if they did not. And I usually am the other way. Be surprised if they did. I'd be surprised if they don't. I think they're going to do something to add to this team. All right, let's go to Josh. He's in upstate New York. Josh.
Nick, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. I've been listening to you since like the early 2000s. I can't finally get to talk to you. This rules. I got your book. Thank you for all your work, your writing, your analysis over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah, man.
us?
I got two questions for
all
you.
Right.
One's kind of a hypothetical. If you could take Romo 8 years into his career or Prescott 8 years into his career, which one are you taking and why?
Okay. What would you take?
It's a pretty easy question for me. It'd be Romo. I always thought that he elevated the play of his receivers around him, whereas I feel like Prescott needs his receivers play to elevate him.
8 years. Hold on now. 8 years into their career, or 8 years into being the starting quarterback? Because it's a different question.
Good question.
Yeah,
it is a good question. Yeah, okay, fair.
Because 8 years into Romo's career is 2011. And but he'd only been the starter for like 3 or 4 years. You know, Dak had been taking a lot of hits now for 8 years. So it's a tough one. I don't know.
From when they started playing, from when he started playing for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, was it the QB1?
Yeah, I mean, Romo, I think Romo, you know, was figured things out a little bit more there. It took him longer to develop. I mean, he's an undrafted guy from Eastern Illinois, and Parcells, you know, saw something in him and said, you know, and they liked him right away. I remember Darren Woodson telling the story about how his rookie year, Romo was on the scout team, and he pulled him aside and said, "You're the best quarterback we have on this team. You give us the most problems of any quarterback that we face in practice." When, of course, that was Quincy and Clint Sterner and Chad Hutchinson. I mean, they weren't talking about, you know, Pro Bowlers either, but he said that they could see it right away. And so, but it took him a little bit. And you could tell later on in his career, he really started figuring out angles and things like that, but the injuries kind of caught up to him. So, but this is not a Romo versus Dak debate. I love both those guys. I think both of them are good in their own way, and I think their careers right now, as it stands, have been pretty similar to what they've done and what they're have tried to do, what they haven't been able to accomplish, to get over the top. I mean, I think that where they are ranking NFL quarterback wise has always been about the same. They've been in that next wave of elite guys, and mainly the reason for that is because of lack of postseason success. When you don't do that, then that's what you got to get put in another category, unless you're just Dan Marino. But if you're not putting up all kinds of numbers and stats, then you get put there. But anyways, that's kind of where we stand there on that. All right, let's end this thing. I don't have any other calls on the line. I think we're good to go. We got Cowboys break coming up here in a few minutes, so make sure and stick around for that. We got podcasts going all day long today and tomorrow as we get you ready for the Cowboys and the Rams on Sunday. But we'll be back here tomorrow on Cowboys Storyline. We'll be picking the game. We'll be having some fun, taking calls and text messages as always. All right, for Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We will see you tomorrow on Cowboys Storyline.